Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. I want to talk a little bit about transitions and lead ins. As you start taking your outline from sort of just the basics and actually turning it into paragraphs and good writing, you want to think about how you can connect your ideas together and kind of make your writing flow so that it's not choppy. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure you have good transitions. Ideas that flow well tend to be more convincing than ideas that sound choppy and not put together. So you definitely want to think about how your writing flows and sounds. So one way to do that is to have good transitions. Transitions are things like, for example, additionally, despite this, after, therefore, due to, beyond that, further, all of those sorts of things are going to be transitions. So there are those sort of phrases or words that just connect one sentence to the next or connect one paragraph to the next. So I grabbed an example from a previous lesson where I said recess would give students an outlet for energy that they may otherwise struggle to contain in class. According to the Center for Disease Control, there is a positive connection between physical activity and academic behaviors. This means that students have more physical activity in their day. They are better able to concentrate and learn during class. Adding time for middle school students will prevent off-task behaviors and allow students to be more successful. So I added in some transitions. Those would be like my three basic things, but I can add in some transitions in some different ways. So if this was like my second or third body paragraph, if this was my first body paragraph, I wouldn't start it with additionally. That wouldn't make any sense. But if it was my second or third one, then I might say something like, additionally, recess would give students an outlet for energy they may otherwise struggle to contain. So that's just going to be a quick, if it's adding on to something I previously said, then additionally is a great transition to use. Then I've got, my according to the Center for Disease Control, that's a different kind of transition already. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And then I've got this means that as students have more physical activity in their day, they're better able to concentrate and learn during class. One transition I could put there rather than saying this means that, which does work. It's not wrong to say this means that. That's fine. I could put in other words. As students have more physical activity in their day, they are better able to concentrate. If I'm clarifying or sort of restating what the quote said, in other words, is a great transition. Obviously, you want to kind of mix up the transitions you use. Don't use additionally every single time you add new information. Don't use in other words or this means that after every single quote. You want to use different ones, a variety of transitions. Then where I say, okay, adding recess, I could say therefore, adding recess time for middle school students will prevent off-task behaviors and allow students to be more successful. So that therefore sort of cements that I'm saying because of this, we need to do this. So because this fact is true or because this information is here, schools should do this. Then if I was going to introduce my counter argument, in my next paragraph, I might say oh, despite this, some people think blah, 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 blah. So rather than just starting with that very basic idea, that sort of, yes, it's still a topic sentence, but rather than starting with just this, I'm going to give my reader some roadmaps with these transitions. I'm going to make sure that they're following what I'm talking about by giving them a little bit of hey, this is an addition to what I'm saying. This is talking specifically about this quote. If I said in other words, that would be clear too. Therefore, I'm saying this is my conclusion based on this evidence. So I'm sort of laying it out really clearly with these transitions. Another really specific type of transition is a lead-in. So lead-ins are specific transitions just for your evidence. So you never, ever, ever, ever want to put a quote without a lead-in. So never just drop your quote in the middle of the paragraph. When you're trying to put your evidence in, you want to make sure there is a specific transition just for that evidence. Otherwise, your writing is definitely going to sound clunky, and people are going to be confused, and it's just going to not work very well. So you definitely want a lead-in. So some lead-ins are like according to, for example, in addition to, or something like that. So in that example, I said according to the Center for Disease Control, there is a positive connection between physical activity and academic behaviors. And that was on page 28 of the document that I read. So just this according to the Center for Disease Control, that's going to be my lead-in. This example is not literally a quote. It's a paraphrase, but you still want a transition. You still want some sort of like, for example, there is a positive connection. You want to make sure that we know what's happening, that you're not just like saying a bunch of random sentences that don't seem connected. You want to do the work of making that roadmap for your audience. So while it is tempting to be like, well, they'll understand, and many will, like your audience isn't stupid, you don't want to assume that they can't follow basic logic, but you want to lay out your thinking. The whole point of writing an argument is for you to lay out your thinking. So you don't want to risk anyone getting stuck because they weren't sure what you were trying to say, or they weren't sure why something followed something else. And you just want it to sound good. Like I said, without flow, good arguments can kind of get stuck. So just like organization, flow is important. If your ideas sound clunky, then your audience is less likely to believe what you're talking about. They want it to flow. They want it to just kind of make sense. They don't want to have to stop and be like, wait, what were you talking about? So transitions and lead-ins can help you do that. Down here, there's a bunch of different examples of different lead-ins and transitions that you can use for different purposes. So like if you want to add more information, you can use these. If you want to contrast something, so you want to say like, well, despite this, or in spite of this, or nevertheless, people think this, or something like that, those are great. If you need to have a lead-in for your quote, some of these are really good ideas. Or those might be good for getting into your explanation a little bit. If you need to talk about where or when something is happening, that works. To repeat or summarize, if you want to say like, here's the conclusion I'm drawing because of these things, you're going to want those. And then these are also going to work for that. There's that therefore that I used. So use these transitions to help your writing flow and make sense. So as you are putting your rough draft together, think about where you can add in transitions to help it flow. So you already have your basic ideas, you just laid out your organization, so you've got your support claims, your evidence, your reasoning. Now you just need to make it sound like good writing. So you want to first add in some transitions and make sure you have lead-ins for your quotes, and then we'll be ready to start looking at our introduction and our conclusion, our beginning and our end, and then we'll have a draft done. All right, let me know what you guys need. I hope you have